I'm Lucy Edwards, Director of Strategic Engagement at Metaport and VHT Studios. And today I am at Compass. And my guest is Tricia Luther. Tricia is the sales manager for Broward County at Compass. And we are here in the heart of Fort Lauderdale.
Yes.
How are you doing, Tricia?
Great. Thanks for having me, Lucy.
You have a great success story. You've been in real estate. You have been with Compass for a while now. Let's talk about it. How you got started, why real estate, and how are you enjoying your new role?
Okay, so real estate was a win for me. It was '08, big market changes, lost my job, and my boyfriend at the time said, "Why don't you do real estate?" And I said, "Okay." I'll give it a shot. So I interviewed with a bunch of brokerages. And so from '08 to 2016, I was a realtor. I started off in short sales because nobody wanted to do them. I ended up doing foreclosures. I never considered myself a foreclosure or short sales specialist because I didn't want to be claimed by that. And I continued with my regular business. So once I did that, I was also teaching at my local real estate board. I was teaching MLS classes. I was highly involved with committees. And in the end of 2015, the CEO of the board came to me and said, "I want you to run my professional development division."
Cool.
And I thought, that sounds pretty exciting. I hadn't really thought about it, and it presented itself. I spoke with my broker about it and thought, I think it's time. So I did that, and through a couple of mergers, I actually ended up growing into 2 other positions and ended up being a Broward Regional Vice President. I oversaw a broker concierge team, so we worked with all the different brokers and managers throughout Broward County and making sure that they were catered to and maintaining our membership. And then at the same time, I worked with a lot of our regional directors. I mentored them. I helped them grow in leadership. Served on staff as staff liaison for a bunch of different committees. And I just got to a point where I said, I'm in the last 3rd chapter of my career. Where do I want to be? I want to continue to grow. I want to be with a culture that I love. I'd met many of the sales managers, the state broker, had worked with them through the board, followed Compass ever since they came into Fort Lauderdale, because we have our Fort Lauderdale office and we opened West End last year. And I was always just very impressed in how the entire company is organized and everything is focused around the agent and the principals. So there was an opportunity early this year or last year, I should say, in 2023. And I jumped on it right away. And so I've been here ever since and I absolutely love it.
Well, how exciting.
Yeah.
And you had a choice to join any brand you could imagine because you knew everybody and you joined Compass.
Yes. Yeah. And I felt very comfortable with that. I'd followed the agents. I had worked with some of the originating agents that came to this office 5 years ago when we opened. And I watched their story and I saw their success and that they said, "I'm still here. I'm still here. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm not going anywhere. I love the support and services that I get here." So it made it very, very easy for me in my decision.
And I think your background really brings up the talent that you have, coaching agents, giving them suggestions. You are so patient. You can sit there and listen to them for hours and hours, complaining or vice versa, bragging about themselves. And you give them that comfort zone. You create the comfort zone and also coaching. I think that's important. Just a few words on how you implement your background that you had before and now you are offering it to your agents.
Sure. So I am a huge promoter of business planning, goal setting, mentoring, guiding, adjusting, adapting, right? So that's one of the most passionate things that I have about my job is, so instead of doing annual business planning meetings, I do quarterly business planning meetings. It's actually something that we do as a company here in our office. We do our business planning meetings with our principals, which are our team leads, and we do them every single quarter. Some of my agents come to me and my principals and they say, "Trish, can we meet again in 1 month? I want to make sure that I've gotten these things down and then let's readdress." Or they'll just call me and say, something happened, I'm getting married, or I'm, life changed, right? And we need to figure out, how am I going to change my career and not lose my income and continue to grow through this, defiant change in my life. So we actually meet with the sales manager. All of our principals have an agent experience manager, and some of them will have an assigned marketing person or shared marketing person. So depending what we're talking about, we'll sit down and go through what their goals are. I initially, when I meet, for example, this morning, I just met with a brand new principal. And I said, okay, so who are you? What do you love doing outside of work, right? What is your passion? What moved you here to Fort Lauderdale? And we start uncovering things that they love. As a realtor, you can be who you are. If you love music, do that. Be that person. There's somebody in LA that has this newsletter. It's The Beat, and it's always about something. He loves the Beatles and he loves music. So it's about that. It's about new boutiques going on in the area. And then there's also the real estate involved. So there are so many different opportunities when you're working with somebody and really figuring out what their sphere is, as well as, okay, what's the ultimate goal? What's my goal in 10 years from now? What do I look like? What does my team look like? So let's start there. And then let's say, okay, right now we need to work on getting all your contacts uploaded. Let's start working on, do we do a newsletter? Do we do a Just Join Compass campaign? Do we need to go out? Are you going to start door knocking? Are you going to start creating networking? I have agents that go to other cities, and they host or speak at the other sales meetings in different cities and talk about their experience and what's happening here in South Florida. We're a mecca of everyone moving here, right? People from New York, people from California. So it's really working with them on small chunks of business plans throughout the year. It's the same thing as if you give yourselves a New Year's resolution. Right?
But do you hold them accountable? Like you meet with them quarterly?
Yes, for the next quarter. Yeah, absolutely. The next quarter, we sit there and say, okay, last time we met, we were working on X, Y, and Z. How is that going for you? Sometimes they'll come to me beforehand. They're like, I'm having a snafu, or I'm struggling. I can see myself hesitating. So we'll sit down and talk about that. But absolutely, you go through what you went through in your last meeting. We also have financial goals for the entire year, and we follow that to see where they are with themselves as well as their team. And then we will pop into their team meetings as they ask us to and say, let's talk about XYZ product. We noticed that you haven't been using that, but you're missing out on a great opportunity based upon the activity that your team does.
That brings me to a question about marketing. So that is very important. Marketing strategy is extremely important. I'm sure you are participating in those conversations as well with not just your principals, but also with agents. And not everyone is on a team. Sometimes you have a single agent who is not interested in joining a team. So how do you enforce in a way that they are sticking to their marketing plan and implementing it on every listing?
I think, well, it definitely varies, but marketing right now more than ever is very important. We've seen a market shift. The inventory has been low. Hopefully that will come up now with rates coming down. But I really think it's very, very important that agents are marketing themselves. Not just the listing. Just listed, just sold, look. Every time you see somebody on social media, right? If all you see going through there is just listed, just sold, just listed, are you going to continue to follow it? Probably not, because that's all it's about. It's like, well, who is that person? Do they also run? Do they love restaurants? Are they talking about other things, books that they read? Somebody wants to know that they're working with someone. Right? We're not just robots of just listed and just sold. However, I think that it's becoming more strategic. And the more strategic and more smart the agents are about their marketing, what is it about the marketing? What was it about that property that made it sell? What did you attribute to that sell? Were there trials and tribulations through the transaction that you helped make it happen? Did you raise the value in a building or in a neighborhood for what you sold? Tell that story. Also, so many people just talk about the properties that they list, and so many agents love to work with buyers. There are agents that actually love to work with buyers, right? So talk about those stories. Was it their first home? Did they get a great price? What did you achieve for them? I think it's really, really important to also tell the story of working with the buyer. What experience did you give them? Working with buyers is hard. It's really hard work. It takes a lot. So I think telling those stories and the accolades of maybe other people that you brought in to help make a transaction happen. And right now, just promoting the other people that you work with to make this picture of working in real estate understandable. We have all of these shows on TV that are so fake. Oh, let's go look at 3 $15, $30 million properties and oh, by the way, that one was still available when we put the offer down, right? This is not the real world, right? So let's tell a real story and let's talk about our accomplishments and praise each other right now.
I love that, and I really appreciate what you have to say about the TV shows, because the reality, not all of them are 30 million, not all of them are cash buyers, and definitely majority of the people who are moving around, they do have a story, they have a need why they are moving to Florida. Speaking of moving to Florida, part of marketing strategy, since I'm part of Matterport, is 3D tours. And you have, what do we have now in Florida? 1,000 people a day moving in every day. And they are not moving from Fort Lauderdale to Pompano Beach. It's basically either global or national. How your agents implement Matterport and 3D tours in their marketing strategy?
3D tours are very, very important because buyers are going to the internet. Right? They're not just hopping a plane and saying, we're going to be there in 1 month. Can you set up 20 showings for us? Because guess what? Those properties still aren't available then. Having a tour that really walks you through the property. So if you could not be there or if you were blind, you knew that property inside and out from the moment you walked in the building, drove in the driveway, walked up the stairs, through the kitchen. You want to understand that entire flow. I remember when I was in real estate before we had 3D tours, I was creating them through pictures, right? And I was literally formatting the pictures out from the moment you walked outside, you walked in the home, to the right of the front door. I mean, it was literally writing this down under the comments, under pictures, so people could see a flow. And I did have buyers that bought sight unseen, had never been in the property because of the way that I formatted that. So 3D tours, videos are very, very important in today's world. It definitely morphed and made a bigger impact, obviously, during COVID because people couldn't travel, but they wanted to move. Right. So it definitely made life easier. And in today's world, especially international buyers, they may want an investment property. This is a great way to feature a property to get much stronger visibility instantly.
And you are helping not just buyers, but sellers as well, as they don't have to get the property ready for every showing. And you are actually multiplying showings by thousands.
Yes. And I think even adding to that, I think it's also important for agents also to think about outside the home. What's in the community? What does the community offer? Is it, the great schools? Or is there a nice little downtown area? Are there restaurants? Are there, different art activities? Are there museums? Highlight these things because it's not anymore just living in a home. During COVID, it was. People wanted to move down from their little New York condo and buy a huge house with a pool to throw the kids in during the day, right? So they got exercise. But now it's really about lifestyle. People want to live and breathe as part of their community and make sure that they fit into that community as well. So I think adding that in is extra visibility beyond the home is also really important.
I would like to talk about everything that's happening right now in real estate landscape with NAR, with lawsuits, with all the noise. How you, as part of leadership, deal with it, how you talk to your agents so they are not involved in that noise and they focus on themselves.
Well, Lucy, I love that you say noise because we find ourselves saying, stop listening to the noise. The more you dwell on things, the worse it gets, and you just engulf yourself into a nightmare, right? However, it is reality that lawsuits have been out there, right? So one thing our organization has done very well, I will say our broker for the state of Florida was very proactive. As far as the middle of last year, we were having classes on what is happening with these lawsuits. What could this mean if, depending which direction these lawsuits end up? When could this be happening? What do we expect? What are we going to have to learn? We worked with our local associations to find out what their perspective was, what changes they were expecting to make, and really prepared our agents. So by the time it came around, it wasn't a big deal anymore. So I think number one is making sure that you're educated on the onset when things like this come out, that you're aligned with an organization that is going to protect you. We were also very proactive in that we had contracts already ready, and how that could change to show that this is going to be the seller's commission. This is going to be the buyer's commission. There's going to be a disclaimer in there that is going to protect the agent a bit more. We educated them on that. We also, I think most importantly with agents today, with everything going on, I think I mentioned it in one of our sales meetings in one of these training sessions that was last year. I said, so many agents will spend hours and so much time preparing a listing presentation to get the listing. How much time do you spend with your buyers before you ever walk out the door with them?
Yeah, here you are again about buyers.
It should be just as important. And here's the other thing, especially here in South Florida, we have a lot of international buyers. If you go to Australia, the listing agent is the buyer's agent. People don't understand that if they come to another country and this is their first buying experience. How am I compensated, right? Do you just go around and jump around to every single person that has a listing? No, because we all share our listings in a service. You have to really explain to them how you get paid and what your value is. If you're not selling your value and having them to commit to that value, buyer's representation, buyer broker representation agreements, yeah, those may become more popular again with this shift. And we have educated our agents and principals on that. But the bottom line is if you sell your value and they are committed to you in knowing that you have their back and you're going to bat for them and you're not paid until you get them that ultimate home, then you're doing a disservice to yourself. So I think it's really getting back to selling your value, making sure, think outside the box. How can we represent ourselves differently? Look, our local association did a national campaign about realtor, what it means to be a realtor. And that was part of that, knowing that these cases were coming out. Do we know what's going to happen with some of these cases? No. Maybe the worst thing, that happens is unfortunately some of the smaller mid-sized brokerages, depending how, if the suits don't, go their way, they may not afford to be able to be in business. But guess what? Realtors are always going to be here. Everybody needs someone to walk them through the process. Everybody needs a realtor to work with them to get the best value for their property, for the buyers to negotiate on their behalf. People need realtors. So I think just remembering what your value is and making sure that we as a real estate community are maintaining our professionalism and showing our value and showing our representation and what we really have to offer our clients is most important.
Well said, Tricia. That is very impressive. I haven't thought about it from your angle, but I'm definitely changing my mind. So I appreciate that. And lastly, what would you like to wish to a brand new agent who comes to a real estate community and would like to be a real estate professional and doesn't just loves being with people, wants to help people, but doesn't really understand what's involved? Just like you said, with television, it looks so easy and you are making millions of dollars every year, right?
Yeah. It's an interesting question. If I had an agent who is brand new to real estate, I would first say, what's your background? Why are you getting into real estate? What is your commitment to real estate? Is this full time for you? Some people have to have a side job getting into real estate.
At least in the beginning.
In the beginning. My biggest tip on that is you have to say within X amount of time, which I usually 6 months is a good amount of time, I'm going to have X amount of dollars in the bank, and I am going to be able to have X amount in my funnel of buyers and sellers that I'm working with, or however much closed, so that I can quit that and go full-time real estate. Having a full-time day job is very hard with real estate because there's a lot of preparation. Sometimes you're working with buyers and sellers at night. Sometimes you're working with them during the day. So maybe if another job is important, maybe having a job that has different types of shifts or has a later night shift that provides you more of an opportunity to go full-time into real estate.
Be flexible.
Being part-time in real estate is very difficult. It really is. I started with a full-time job. I was in retail management. I took the yucky Friday night shift and Saturday night shift because people aren't looking at properties on Friday and Saturday night usually.
Okay.
It may be on the weekend days, but I had alternate times, right? And I had other people that could show things if I wasn't able to run out and show something that was really hot, right? So I think also finding out their sphere. What do they love to do? I'm a big sphere person. Don't do something that you hate to do. If you're not someone who loves dialing, don't go to a team that says, I'll give you dialing leads, right? That may not be your mojo. Your mojo may be, you know what, I'm part of a cycling club, or I love reviewing films, or I love being with my kids and going to school events. Then utilize those things to encapsulate and create your clientele. Then your job becomes fun and it doesn't feel like hard work, right? So I'm really big on focusing on spheres and figuring how to market in that way and being creative along those lines. But they definitely have to have, what does your life look in 10 years from now? What do you look like? If you said, Lucy Edwards, what is you as a realtor in 10 years? What does that look like to you?
Right.
Then we can say, now let's start the small steps to get there, right? Because do you really want to, I think first starting it as an agent, teaming up with someone who does have experience is extremely helpful. And being with an organization that offers plenty of training and everything else, right, and support. But working with other agents that are very busy can be a really great learning lesson, even if they say, you know what, come jump in my car for the day. Let's, learn from me. And I think the really great agents and the great leaders out there, they love to share those experiences. They may say, I'm not going to share my secret sauce, but sometimes they end up sharing it because they get so proud and excited.
So passionate, right?
Yeah, and they love to tell what they've done. Once they really start talking about it, they're like, I really love this business. And when I'm talking with so-and-so, I had this one experience, and they start telling these things that you would have thought they would never tell other people. And I think that that's a great accomplishment. Sometimes you'll have, team leads that lose an agent because they become a team lead. They want to become a principal too. And I'll have people that'll come to me crushed about it. And I'll say, this is the biggest compliment you could ever receive. And by embracing this, and touting and exploding this exciting avenue of someone that you trained and built who wanted to become one of you, can only exemplify how great of a realtor you are. And so I think the true leaders in the world really love creating new leaders as well.
Well, that is definitely an avenue and a compliment, just like you said. So I'm wishing all the new agents to come to you and talk to you about their future career. How about that?
I love that. I am here to speak with anyone. I'm an orchestrator of relationships. So yeah, that's my mojo, Lucy.
Thank you so much. I'm going to name our interview Orchestrator of Relationships.
Excellent. I love it. Well, thank you, Lucy,
Thank
for
you
coming
for
to
your time.
visit us today. We really appreciate it.
All the best to you and to your agents.
Thank you.